I suspect she must now know that the party is over. I was told that she has been bouncing off the walls with her behavior and with anxiety. And I'm pretty sure that she does know that the party's over.
Lady Colin Campbell, great to have you. Goodness me, it has all gone so wrong for Meghan in terms of this fight back over the revelations in the Hollywood Reporter. So I've been desperate to talk to you about this, but as a very quick rundown, you will know, obviously, the Hollywood Reporter describes her as a dictator in high heels, speaks to 12 current and former staff members, not in the UK, but in Hollywood. Then she follows up with this PR'd article in Us Weekly saying she's the nicest boss in the world, only for the Daily Beast to hit back with more staff members calling her a demon with psycho moments. So finally, America is finding out about the real Meghan Markle that you and I have known about for some years. What's your take on it all?
Oh, Dan, I love it. Because also, you see, I was told that Meghan and her people, her ideas people, I need to say that to sort of muddy the waters slightly, but Meghan and her people are the ones who came up with the idea of, oh, well, there's too much going on that's very awkward, that people are asking awkward questions about various things with me. And so I think what I need to do is reintroduce a subject that we have already made, that has already made me a victim, and that it will be a rerun. And just as how the last time I was able to say, well, I was a victim and I'm really innocent, and the palace and the royal family and the British establishment are the ones who were working me over, we'll do it again. And my understanding is that she, in quotation marks, is the person who set up the whole thing, so that there would be a rerun of the, oh, Meghan's not really a bully, but they're accusing her of being a bully. Because remember, the last time she said it was an orchestrated, I think she said, she didn't say orchestrated, but the word was orchestrated. A calculated smear campaign is what she said. And evidently, she set the ball a-rolling, thinking that the Hollywood Reporter, which has always been very pro her, was going to go along with her take on the whole thing. Instead of which, what they did was they investigated. But it's telling that the story has links to people who still work with Meghan.
So it's backfired spectacularly then, hasn't it? Because, I mean,
Brilliantly.
the Daily Beast article, Lady C, was arguably the worst yet. One staff member saying there were definitely bad, even psycho moments. I witnessed people being chewed up in person and over the phone and made to feel like shit. Apparently, she would scream down the phone at a florist. That was just normal behavior for Meghan. And it just feels like this is getting worse and worse and worse because there are so many people who are furious. Including, by the way, this person who worked with Meghan in the run-up to the wedding, who said, I always thought she was a classic narcissist, and getting her staff to tell a magazine how amazing she is only confirms that in my mind. She is lovely when it is all going her way, but a demon when the worm turns. And your reporting has always backed up that personality trait, hasn't it?
Well, I don't know if you know Tom Sykes, who wrote that article. Do you know Tom?
Yes, from the Daily Beast, and he's a very well-connected man.
He is extremely well connected. The Sykeses are one of the most eminent families in this country. And he is super well connected. And he's also a great guy, very decent. And, when he picks up the phone and speaks to people, they will tell him the truth. And what's really interesting about this is that the Daily Beast has for years been very pro-Meghan, and any attempt for anybody on the Daily Beast to actually give a very measured story was resisted by the senior management, but no longer. They're now interested in just the truth.
That's
And I
what's
mean,
so
some of Tom's
interesting.
contacts are wonderful, but I mean, you and I both know that she has the most rotten reputation at the palace. And I mean, people absolutely loathed her with a passion because of her behavior. Everybody set out wanting to like her, and everybody set out trying to embrace her, and and she's the one who set out to really make their lives, and as a result of that, her own life, the misery that it has become. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh, absolutely. Because what's so significant about this is she can't blame the fact that these publications have turned on her on them being part of the establishment or in cahoots with the men in grey suits or any of the things that she tried to say about the publications and journalists in the UK who exposed her behaviour, or authors and commentators like yourself. She can't say that because the Hollywood Reporter and the Daily Beast, as you quite rightly point out, Lady Steve, were for a long time in her pocket. They were doing lots of her propaganda, but the story has become too big and her behaviour has become too appalling for them to ignore.
That's right. That's right. And you will notice, Dan, that in the story, the original Hollywood Reporter story, Harry was presented as sweeter than the sweetest candy. And my understanding is that that was so that she would have the justification of saying, well, you see, the palace doesn't like me, but they're protecting their own. And of course, the whole thing has spectacularly backfired and will continue to backfire because Harry also is not exemplary. His behavior is sometimes quite appalling. And that's to come. But they have worked themselves into a box with every maneuver and every manipulation that they have tried that was going to glorify them and denigrate the royal family and denigrate the royal institution. It's gradually everything has backfired. And now they are both exposed for what they are. But she especially, I mean, she is loathed, I'm told, in Hollywood. I mean, I was told by somebody
Mm.
who's Hollywood royalty in quotes that nobody's ever liked her. But and before she was famous, she kept on hitting brick walls because she was so incredibly pushy and she was so incredibly arrogant. But once she had her very limited minor success that she had on Suits, she was tolerated. But once she started with the look how wonderful I am stuff, that, they couldn't abide her in Hollywood. And doors had been slamming for much longer than people realize. It's just that a few of the bigwigs thought they could make money off her and off Harry. And I mean, to a large extent, it's spectacularly backfired because Spotify didn't make any money to speak of, and Netflix isn't making any money to
Not a
speak
penny.
of either. And you know, you once the Hollywood Reporter, which liked her, trashes you, this is confirmation that the party is over. It's also confirmation that Ari Emanuel and Ted Sarandos are either getting ready to push her or they are going to downgrade her to such an extent that it is going to be laughable. I mean, this sort of thing doesn't happen. You will know how these things work. People of that caliber can kill stories. The fact that this story hasn't been killed, and in fact it's flourished and continues to flourish, shows that at the absolute top level with the few people that she had uh, going for promoting her, that she's lost to a large extent their support. And that I suspect they're just getting ready to jettison her in as decent and as pleasant a way as possible, failing which they're going to revise her contracts to such an extent that she's going to, well, she's returning to what she was. No deal, not even, and certainly not a big deal. You know.
Do you think it was significant, Lady C? I know you referred to it just a moment ago, but do you think it was significant that the Hollywood Reporter was still fawning over Prince Harry? Were they trying to protect him in some way? Because all of the blame they placed on Meghan, which, as you say, isn't actually true. I mean, Harry is in lots of ways as bad as her, but it was very telling, I thought, that the piece was targeted all at Meghan and not at Harry at all.
Yes, well, my information is that when she set it up, or her people set it up to let's sort of have a little legal protection here. When her people set it up, they expected that by making Harry purer than pure, that this the story would then be revealed to have been a palace plant, and that the British royal family have been dead against Meghan. See, they're still prevailing. And the Hollywood Reporter weren't interested in going after Harry. They also understand that Harry without Meghan still has value. Harry with Meghan has no value. So it's not in the mainstream media's interest to trash Harry needlessly. So that's my take on it. I think it's a very sophisticated hit job. She thought she was employing the assassins to shoot at her enemies, and in fact they have ended up shooting at her. I think it's beautiful. All her manipulations and calculations always end up boomeranging on her. I mean, for somebody who's so manipulative and calculating, you would have thought by now she'd have actually understood that if you spit in the sky, it will fall in your eye. So lower your head and spit on the ground instead.
Indeed, it has backfired spectacularly, hasn't it? Now, there is lots of media intrigue in this story, Lady C, because do you remember People magazine used to be the number one place that Meghan and Harry would go to leak stories, and it was edited by a guy called Dan Wakeford, who became a big part of the court case with Meghan versus Thomas Markle and the Daily Mail, because the letter had originally been leaked to Dan Wakeford at People magazine by Meghan's friends, but we knew that she was all over it. So now Dan Wakeford is the editor of Us Weekly magazine, which is why he has turned that magazine into a pro-Meghan propaganda piece. He has made a video explaining his reporting. I'm going to show it to you in two parts and get you to react off the back. So this is the first part.
Hello, I'm Dan Wakeford, the editor-in-chief of Us Weekly. This week we chose to put Meghan Markle as one of our covers again. To be honest, I didn't expect to do another cover on Meghan quite so soon, as we'd already covered her return to the spotlight just 2 months ago. However, Meghan was thrust into the centre of the news once again because of negative headlines about how she conducts herself as a boss. The reports claimed that those who work for Meghan are terrified of her, and it included quotes from a source calling her a dictator in high heels who belittles people and has reduced grown men to tears. It's rare that people who work for celebrities and notable figures in the public eye talk on the record about their jobs behind the scenes. So when we got the opportunity to talk to the current and former employees of the Duchess of Sussex and her husband Prince Harry, I felt it was compelling enough to do a cover story. We talked to 5 staff on the record and another 2 off the record, and they say that the previous anonymous allegations made are wildly inaccurate and damaging. They reveal an unprecedented look into Meghan and Harry's work world and also their private world behind the scenes. All 7 employees had a positive experience working for Meghan.
Lady C, your reaction?
Well, Dan, I've seen the whole thing, so yes, it was 102 points. Jeff Kettler doesn't actually say anything positive about working for them or
No.
why he left. It's sort of obvious that anybody who leaves less than 3 months into a job that was supposed to be a very eminent position for a considerable length of time just before a major trip left for very good reasons. And his comment actually doesn't say anything about his work experience. If I recall correctly, it's about, he sort of says, oh, he was welcomed nicely. You know, sort of like, before I stepped in through the door, everything was honky-dory. Well, if you go beyond that, what happened after he was in the room? And so right there, his is just a wipeout. And they've got one or two others who've sort of said anodyne things. But
but it's damning with faint praise, isn't it? You're right. It's damning with faint praise. But first, it turns out the key to losing weight and keeping it off is not in carbs or fat or even probiotic-rich foods. No, the end game of having a healthy weight, as well as more energy and a long, healthy life, comes down to a specific switch you can flip in your body to flush out unnecessary calories. Dr. Stephen Gundry is calling this caloric bypass. And by activating this specific process in your body, he has seen thousands of people dramatically improve their health, even at age 50 and beyond. This includes losing weight, getting tons more energy, and returning to the good health that they had in their youth once they simply address this one key to better health. Not only that, this is actually associated with improved digestion, strong feeling joints and muscles, smoother skin, and healthier lives, meaning it could be the key to a happy life. Dr. Stephen Gundry has lost 70 pounds himself using his research and has kept the weight off for over 20 years and counting. His digestive issues are gone, his health is fantastic, and he feels younger and healthier today than he did in his 40s. His video has been watched by over 20 million people to date, and you can watch and learn more about it at thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. It's linked at the bottom of this video on YouTube and Rumble, but he'll teach you exactly how he has kept his weight off for free at thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. Click on the link in the description below the video.
And those are the ones that you've been able to get on the record. I mean, so what about the other 40 who are off the record? Or what about the 11 who are with the Hollywood Reporter, who are totally off the record? Because, of course, Meghan knows who the 12th is. Hello, can I give a little tip about my wonderful person, the ghastly Duchess of Sussex? Oh, yes, she's awful, and but Harry's wonderful, and you've got to run the story in such a way that everybody's going to know that if this is a palace plant. I think it's ludicrous. But you know, they're digging a deeper and deeper hole for themselves,
Yes.
and she especially, because I suspect she must now know that the party is over. I was told that she has been bouncing off the walls with her behavior and with anxiety. And I'm pretty sure that she does know that the party's over. I mean, she's a creature of Hollywood. She has to know that when the Hollywood Reporter trashes you, it's a message that, you know, adios, baby.
Do you think this is why she didn't turn up to the Kevin Costner charity event in Montecito on Friday night? Because she claimed she was sick.
You know, well, of course she was sick. And I'm sure she's going to hope that when she recovers, the world will come awake the way it did for Catherine, and everybody's going to be as jubilant for her recovery as they were for Catherine's. Sick, she's certain, but my understanding is she's suffering from narcissistic collapse. So
Yeah.
but whether she had narcissistic collapse or not, I think she's clever enough to understand, especially after last year, where Kevin Costner was actually quite cutting towards her, and his staff were as well. I think she understood that if she turns up this time, it's going to be shining a spotlight on her failure. So she's been sensible enough to pull back.
And of course, Harry on his own in New York. And he doesn't really seem in a good place, Lady C. He doesn't seem to be particularly enjoying this visit. It's all very much by the numbers. But there was one moment I think that particularly annoyed me in New York when he was talking about social media. And of course, he hides all of this, right, around the idea that he's trying to protect the children. When we know, actually, Lady C, what he is trying to do is shut down free speech and protect himself as a public figure. But let's have a look at what he had to say, and I'll get you to react off the bat.
My lock screen is a picture of my kids. What's yours? These children and thousands more meant the world to their families. The beautiful faces you see before you, their smiles, their dreams, all lost. All too soon, and all because of social media. It's why we launched the Parents Network, a global community that provides crucial support to parents whose children have suffered from the harmful effects of social media. These platforms are designed to create addiction. Young people are kept there by mindless, endless, numbing scrolling, being force-fed content that no child should ever be exposed to. It's not free will. But our kids are being targeted. The harmful effects of social media are made by design. While we embolden both youth and parents, we must also hold digital platforms accountable. Surely, none of us want to live in a world where there is no consequence or accountability.
But I don't want to live in a world, Lady C, where a royal or an estranged royal wants to control what media I consume. Thank you very much.
Well, especially one who has Harry's predilections and difficulties and solutions.
You've got a little cold there?
Gloria, superb weed. I mean, he really has a nerve, but
yeah.
But this is nonsensical on several levels. First of all, as anybody who has any knowledge of addiction can tell you, and he's speaking about addiction, and he has authority on the subject because, in my opinion, he's an addict as well. But like all addicts who are medicating as opposed to solving the problem, he doesn't understand how addiction works. But what he's doing is he is saying that our social media is responsible for the deaths of all those children. Several of those children, and those children died by suicide. Now, I'm an ambassador for SOS addiction of sorry, not addiction, SOS silence of suicide. Michael Mansfield's charity, because his daughter committed suicide. And I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful cause. And anybody who has any issue where suicide is concerned, it's a wonderful cause. We have helplines available 24/7, etc. We're more proactive than the Samaritans who just listen. We will intervene as well and try to provide solutions. And it actually infuriates me that Harry is blaming social media for children's suicides that had absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with social media, just so that he can jump on a bandwagon and shut down social media, which is the only valuable source of criticism about him at the moment, because he has shut down the mainstream media. Well, had. I think we're going to see that it's starting to revive now. The Hollywood Reporter, the Daily Beast, etc. But this is a very recent thing, and the British mainstream media, they have gone belly up to a large extent. You know, for instance, the Daily Mail, which used to criticize Harry and Meghan, are busy putting on the brown lipstick and kissing their bums.
I know, it's revolting, actually. So glad I don't work there anymore.
But Dan, the reason's really simple, I think, because they are getting ready with Harry to settle the lawsuit. And if they do it too precipitately, they lose credibility. And also, he would not have the incentive to settle with a company, and a newspaper company at that, or a media company actually, that was so overtly anti him. So there are sound practical reasons. Now, I have settled with Associated Newspapers repeatedly, so I know exactly how they function. I have had a partly adversarial and thereafter partly respectful relationship with the legal team at Associated Newspapers. Harvey Cass, wonderful man, he's now retired. Liz Hartley, I'm sure you know Liz Hartley.
Oh yes, I do.
I mean, I've known them all for nearly 40 years now, and this is so. What's happening with the Mail and with the British papers is, so they need to have all the legal stuff done and dusted, and then they can readdress the issues. But the Americans are now hopping in, and the Americans are now saying, hang on a second, there's something stinking in Denmark. That's what they're doing.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.